Welcome to episode 10 of PCSD, What's the Word? With your host, Kevin Adger and
Angelica Carrillo. And it is a very important episode because May is very important to police officers. We're coming up on National Police Week, the middle of May, and we have Lieutenant Stephen Carpenter Jr. He is the Tucson Mountain District Commander. He is also the Honor Section Commander, and we just want to talk to him about what it means to honor the fallen and how we do it here at the Pima County Sheriff's Department.
So welcome, Lieutenant Carpenter.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here.
So let's get right to it. First of all, when did you start your career with the Pima County Sheriff's Department?
Coincidentally, now that we're in May, coming up on my anniversary, May 21st of 1995 is when I started working for the Pima County Sheriff's Department as a deputy sheriff, and I've been going strong ever since.
That's a long time. 28 years, I believe?
This year would be 29.
29, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it's kind of an exciting time approaching 30 because I consider that a pretty big milestone. And so I'm just around the corner about a year from that.
Nice.
And you have done so much in your time here. I want to talk about Honor Guard. How did you join that, and how did that come to be a part of your life?
Well, I'll tell you, from the time that I was a brand new deputy, I always took note of mourning bands that were worn when police officers were killed. And I knew from the time I was in the academy that every time that happened, I would be sure to have the mourning band on my badge. But at that time, I knew nothing about the Honor Guard or Honor Guard operations or anything. And as my career progressed, in 2005, I was asked to be part of the first ever Honor Guard rifle detail. There were several of us hand-selected by Honor Guard leadership at the time. In 2005, the department wanted to make a dedicated, what they called rifle squad, and whose job would just be to perform the firing of 3 volleys at funerals and memorial services. The department had never had that before, although they had Honor Guard for a number of years by that time. But it was a big step for the department's Honor Guard back then to move forward with a dedicated rifle detail. And that rifle detail is still in existence and going strong today. So that's how I became involved in Honor Guard. I was just one of the original members of the Honor Guard rifle detail.
When did you realize how important the Honor Guard was part of your work, part of your daily duties, not only as a commander? When did you realize that it was more than just being part of a team?
I'll tell you, Kevin, I realized it the day I was asked to be on the rifle detail. I understood what that was. I knew what that meant. I knew what 3 volleys were. And from the time they asked me to do that, I was so honored by it that I immediately just made it a very serious pursuit. And I've stayed involved in that this arena, the Honor Guard arena, ever since then. I was a deputy on the Honor Guard rifle detail. I was a sergeant on the Honor Guard rifle detail. And when I promoted to the rank of lieutenant in 2013, my role changed in the Honor Guard because it had to be one of a commander and not of a deputy or a sergeant. But I've stayed engaged. We've turned the Honor Guard into a section, and we've just really expanded it. So really, from the day they asked me to be part of the rifle detail through today, it's just been my focus specialty.
And a 2-part question for you. For those listening who might not know what the 3 volleys are, can you explain that? And then you mentioned kind of growing the honor section. How did you get it to be sort of recognized locally and regionally as well, and nationally?
Well, 3 volleys are just one of the final honors that are proffered during a police or military funeral. It's just a very time-honored tradition that really dates back to the Napoleonic Wars. But the firing of 3 volleys, it's just a loud report from the rifles. It breaks the silence of the ceremony, and it really helps to give closure to those in mourning, in addition to honoring the sacrifice the fallen has made.
And I'll go by that. The second part was, how'd you grow this, or how'd you help grow this honor section? Because there's different parts to it.
There are, and I think the most important thing to mention is it wasn't done by me. I've had some ideas over the years, and the great men and women that I work with in the Honor Guard arena here at the Sheriff's Department, together we have moved this forward. Back when the Honor Guard first started in this department, we really have ad hoc ties to Honor Guard operations, which were informal back in the 1970s. But in 1985, the Honor Guard was officially formed, and that was in the wake of 1983 killing of Ernest Calvillo. He was a deputy sheriff with our department who was shot and killed in the line of duty. And through his tragic death in 1983, the Honor Guard was born in 1985. And from there, in 1993, we had a corrections side evolve. In 2005, we had the Honor Guard Rifle Detail. And then in 2020, we brought on pipes and drums. So we've really grown from commissioned Honor Guard only to commissioned corrections, rifles, and pipes and drums. And we've done that over the years, really between 1985 and 2020. Those were the years that were the growth years for the Honor Guard. And we've grown it into a section level specialty that has 4 important parts, and it's full service. We at the Sheriff's Department, if we had to, we could perform a full-fledged line of duty death funeral with the personnel that we have.
Is that standard for most agencies to have such a big honor section or Honor Guard representation, or are we, above the standard?
Well, all of Honor Guard, we like to be above the standard as a community. And in Arizona, the Honor Guard family is a statewide effort. We have relationships and partnerships with all Honor Guard, with all agencies who have an Honor Guard in the state. So for us, it's not a competition at all. But with the Sheriff's Department, we are very prideful in putting together and maintaining a very supportive honor section so that we stand ready to honor when we need to. We will honor the fallen in this department, and we will also help honor the fallen in other agencies statewide.
How many events would you say the Pima County Honor Section is called to attend each year and assist with each year?
We do approximately 50 deployments per calendar year.
Wow.
There have been years where we've done slightly less, and there have been years where we've done a couple of more. But I think if you look at the average, it's probably 50 deployments per year, which is nearly 1 per week.
How did you guys kind of develop, to be known countywide, statewide, and nationally? Is that just kind of word of mouth, just going to DC and networking? How did you guys get from, just being Pima County to recognized state to being recognized nationally?
I think it boils down to our internal philosophy for our honors section. We like to be well developed, and we like to be very participative in the Honor Guard arena statewide. So what those in the Honor Guard with me, we like to focus on guard development at the local, state, and national levels. So we've done performances locally here in Tucson. We've done performances throughout the state, and we've even traveled to Washington, D.C. Annually to participate in National Police Week. So our philosophy here at the Sheriff's Department in our honors section is guard development at the local, state, and national levels. We think that makes a very well-prepared guard who understands service at all levels. And that's kind of goes back to this question you asked a few minutes ago, Angelica. That's how we've brought this along so far over the years. It's the continued dedication of the men and women who choose to be part of this assignment, which is in addition to their normal full-time jobs at the Sheriff's Department. This is all ancillary work. It requires a lot of time and dedication and effort, and it's the men and women who choose to make that commitment continually who have helped make the Honor Guard what it is today.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that. It is so special to see all of the men and women who are a part of Honor Guard. What type of person do you look for to be a part of that section?
We look for somebody who has good tenure on the Sheriff's Department. We want somebody on the Guard who has proven that they're making this place to work their career. Turnover in specialized assignments, it is not good, because you take institutional knowledge and skills that have been required, and then they go away. So first and foremost, we're looking for a dedicated PCSD employee who's ready to serve and who understands that our job is to serve those who have sacrificed and support the families who have survived those tragic deaths and are still here living their lives. And that's really our focus, helping the families and honoring the fallen. And employees who can do that while maintaining a good working relationship in their normal assignments, being discipline-free, and just having the ability to maintain their uniforms properly, and being willing to attend all of the required basic and quarterly trainings that we require. That's really the perfect package of a Guard.
Yeah, what is that time commitment like for the Honor Guard? I mean, you guys just don't show up and say, here we go. I know there's a lot of practice and planning. So what kind of time commitment does that, employee have to have or commit to the Honor Guard?
We require a minimum of 3-year dedication to the Guard. 3 years is the minimum. If somebody isn't willing to do that much of a commitment, then we just don't bring them on. But for those who are ready to commit to at least 3 years, we bring them on. We outfit them completely with all of the training uniforms and all of the performance uniforms and equipment that are needed. Then we have required basic training, which is a 40-hour Honor Guard Academy, which is done through the U.S. Border Patrol and the Arizona Department of Public Safety. That's called the Southern Arizona Multi-Agency Honor Guard Academy. Members of our honor section have to complete that successfully, and then move forward with developing within our agency in the Honor Guard. We also have required quarterly training sessions that last an entire day each time, a full work day. And in those sessions, we work on academic knowledge and also performance abilities and things like that. And then it's really all about going to deployments and individual Guards building their individual resumes and their abilities. And then that's really what brings us all together. While we have a 3-year minimum requirement, honestly, we really mean 5 or 10. And right now we have a really deep bench with our honor section. Many of our Guards have been on for over 10 years.
Wow, that's incredible to see that dedication to not only the section, but also, the mission of honoring the fallen. We mentioned a little at the beginning that May is a very important month with National Police Week coming up, and then we also have our memorial here at the Pima County Sheriff's Department. Talk a little bit about the memorial.
So our memorial here at the Sheriff's Department is very important for our agency. The first annual memorial service we ever had was in 1987, and it being 2024 now, I think if my math's right, that's probably 37 years. It's got deep roots and deep ties, and it's such an important event. So we at the Sheriff's Department take a lot of pride in having our annual memorial, and it's really a joint event between the Honor Section, who works very closely with the Community Resources Section to team up and really put our best foot forward for the fallen and the surviving family members. One great thing about our memorial is many of the surviving family members of our fallen show up to that every year, and we have the privilege of interacting with them during that time, and some of them even actually participate in the ceremony by walking up to the memorial with an Honor Guard member and placing a red rose in a vase at the memorial, remembering their fallen family member. And so it's very important at the PCSD that we have this memorial annually. I think everybody looks forward to honoring our fallen every year, but we also look forward to interacting with the surviving family members because that just joins in with our primary mission, supporting families, honoring the fallen. And this memorial service in May allows us to do both of those, and it makes us congruent with our mission statement.
You talk about that. It's been since '87, even during COVID, still memorial.
That's a really great question, Kevin, and I'm glad you asked that because you were around for that time. During COVID, we did hold the memorial, and it was not a public event, and it was closed, and there were no attendees because we weren't allowed to have group events. So the honors section was literally having the memorial service in an empty parking lot with no attendees. It was just us and the fallen in spirit. And so yes, even during COVID, we kept doing the services even though there were no attendees because it was important for us not to let a year go by where it was not done.
A lot of planning goes into the memorial. We get a little bit of the behind the scenes. It's planned down to the minute.
Yes.
How important are cues and the execution of all of these important steps to honor the fallen?
Angelica, they are so important, and I'll explain why. Once the memorial service begins, when the Master of Ceremonies addresses the group and lets everybody know we're going to be started, that starts a series of audible cues, verbal cues, and visual cues that, like a stack of dominoes, go without any further talking about it. Once the memorial service begins, the cues are the cues. They are what they are. Everybody knows when they're supposed to do it. And so for about 45 minutes, the cues fall on each other and everybody knows what they're supposed to do. It always works out, but it's stressful. It's nerve-wracking because all we want to do is be perfect. And while that's a lot of pressure, the fallen deserve our effort in that way. And so the cues and the timing are essential. And in Honor Guard operations, we really strive for repetitive perfection.
Oh, we want to commend you for the work that you've done so far because it was my privilege to be here for the first time last year, and it was just incredible to see the dedication and the training and the execution of the event itself just so tastefully done, and just really special to be able to do that for our families.
I appreciate you saying that. That means a great deal.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, I'm not involved. I'm just, behind the camera, but like I'm sweating for the guys. Like, please hit this cue. Please hit that. Like, cause we'll do the run through and I know like, all right, this is supposed to happen when he does this, cause we'll talk.
Sure.
And I'm like, wait, all right, is it going to happen? All right, boom, it's happening. And I know are you going through a checklist in your head as it's going on? I know you're in, commander mode, but right. Mentally, are you going through a checklist?
We know you have a checklist.
I do have a checklist, both hard copy and mentally. So yes, while being usually the officer in charge of the overall ceremony, once the ceremony starts and I'm in my position, yes, I know when cues are supposed to happen, and I'm anticipating them meeting their marks, and leading up to something I know is anticipated supposed to happen, I'm looking forward to it happening. But once, like Kevin said, the cue is hit by whether it's the rifle detail or the roll call detail or whoever, it's always rewarding for me as a lieutenant to watch things unfold, for the men and women who work with me to just hit their marks, be successful, because I know they're feeling good about it. I know it represents the agency well, and I know it represents the fallen and the family members well. And that's just so rewarding for us. I just can't tell you.
Well, let's take a quick break. We're going to come back with Lieutenant Carpenter. We're also going to bring in Sherry Graham Potter, widow of Deputy Timothy D. Graham. And we will talk to both of them about their relationship and what it means to be recognized and honor the fallen on PCSD. What's the word? It only takes a few minutes in the scorching heat of Arizona to turn a car
into an oven. For the little ones in our community, that can be deadly. The Pima County Sheriff's Department wants to help keep our kids safe. Young children are being left in the back seat or are getting into unlocked cars and are not able to get out, resulting in serious injuries or even death. Together, we can do something about this. If you have a child in the back seat, here's a strategy to consider. Place something next to the child that will remind you to check the back seat before you leave the car. For example, a purse, a wallet, or a shoe you are wearing. Lock your car and place the keys where kids cannot reach, denying them access to a vehicle on their own. Last year, 33 kids died in hot cars in the U.S. In 2021, it was 23. These deaths are 100% preventable.
We are back on PCSD. What's the word? We are here with Lieutenant Carpenter, and now we are joined by Sherry Graham Potter, widow of Deputy Timothy D. Graham. Thank you for joining us.
It's an honor to be here.
So we've met before and we've talked and we've had some conversations for another video. Yeah. So real quick, what does it mean to you when we honor Deputy Graham every year?
As the family member of a fallen officer, I don't know that I can even fully express how important it is for us to see the agency carry forward every year and honor our officer. It's incredibly moving to me that 19 years down the road, we're still talking about Tim Graham and his sacrifice. And as I have my children growing up and my grandchildren, they will always have this to come to, and they will always have this moment and this memorial to remember their father and their grandfather and my husband. And it really is an incredible thing watching that continue to happen year after year.
You mentioned it's been 19 years.
Yes.
And you
Just
have
about.
Just about, yes. You have been so involved in honoring his memory and attending different events, always being an advocate. Talk a little bit about why you continue to do that so long after the fact.
Well, I will tell you, one of my favorite stories to tell is shortly after Tim was killed, right after you lose an officer in the line of duty, there is just an absolute flurry of things going on. And the department is there, and you have people everywhere, and your family members are all there, and your house is always full. And so you just get involved in all the activity, and then the funeral happens, and people start sort of filtering out. And it was amazing to me, the people that were so dedicated to my family. They stood sentry in front of my house for over a week, making sure my family was safe, my children were safe, and it was amazing. But there was this moment after everybody, the agency went home and the people standing sentry went home, and my family had to go back to their jobs and their lives, understandably so. But I walked out to get the paper one morning and I realized I was completely alone. And it was a terrifying moment for me because I just had no idea how I was going to move forward. I was so broken. I didn't know how I was going to support my children in healing from this. And a few weeks later, I was a manager in a restaurant at the time, and this woman walks in, and she's planning a party for her husband. And after we had talked, I was the event planner, she sat down and she put her hand over mine, and she said, "I know who you are." And she said, "I lost my husband in the line of duty too." And her name was Jan Blazer Upchurch, and she said, "I want to help you." And she introduced me to this organization called Concerns of Police Survivors. And it was life-changing for me because this organization, it is intent on helping survivors, not just in those first few weeks when everybody is there, but for life. And they support every aspect of survivorship, including coworker survivors, outside family survivors, and their whole goal is helping you navigate this new life that you have and this new normal that you have to learn to live with. And they've done amazing things. And so as time went on, when I was healed enough, the most important thing to me was to be able to help other survivors, because this woman changed my life. And I wanted that. I wanted to be able to change somebody else's life like she did for me, because I don't know where I would be today if it weren't for these other survivors that came in and, gave me a hand up.
So special.
And you're going to DC for National Police Week.
I am.
Tell me what you're going to do while you're there. What are your plans?
Well, the first thing we do is my husband is very involved with cops, and we are also involved in another organization called Law Enforcement United, and we directly fund the cops' kids programs. So what we do a 3-day bike ride. We ride from Roanoke, Virginia, into Washington, D.C. every year. And we raise money for these kids' camps. And then once we're there, we stay for Police Week every year. There's a candlelight vigil on the 13th every year, so we go and attend that. Steve is very well versed in that as well. He's been before. And the memorial is on the 15th. In between that, Concerns of Police Survivors holds all sorts of conferences for the survivors who attend, which are really, really important. They go into finances. They go all over the place, including moving forward, especially with the spouses. Learning to navigate new relationships and that type of thing. So, I mean, it's an incredible event that they put together.
What is it like being there for you with other survivors, talking to someone that's possibly been in the same situation as you? Is it helpful or?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, it's helpful. I think we help each other. I think that was the whole tenet of this organization, is to pair you with other survivors on different levels of where they are in their journey. Some are 20 years in, like I am, and then there's brand new ones, and we can help them navigate step by step where they are. And it's a really incredible thing to see them come together, and especially the children who are going to their school every day don't have classmates that have, had their dad shot in the line of duty. When they're at Police Week, or when they're at these kids camp programs, all of those kids have been through the exact same thing they have. And it's an incredibly healing thing for them to be able to talk about that and have somebody who can completely relate to it.
Unfortunately, the Tucson community recently had a line of duty death.
We did.
What do you want the community to know, to be mindful and respectful of the fallen and the family that is now without someone?
Oh, that's a tricky one. For the most part, the community is always wonderful. They were for me when Tim was killed. There are people who are never going to be happy with law enforcement community, no matter what, and that's fine. It is one of the things I wish I could get people to stop doing is negative commenting on social media, because as hard as we try to have these survivors not looking into social media and the comments, because it is so compelling to do that, and then it's so difficult. This event is difficult enough as it is, and I'm really fortunate. The social media thing was not as big when Tim was killed, and so I didn't have to navigate that like they do now. But it's vicious, the things people say and the things that people say that aren't true. And I just wish people could understand police officers are human beings with families and feelings, and they take the garbage day out, or they do all the same things that every normal human being does, but they are held to the standard that is unbelievably impossible to achieve. And when there's a mistake, and I'm not even suggesting that there's been a mistake made, but everybody wants to nitpick everything. Mm-hmm. And they're upset because of the taxpayer dollars that are spent on the funeral, and it just try and be respectful to the family members. I just can't stress that enough. Care about what's happening in the community. Care about this loss, because it means something to very many people, and not just the family, the agencies. It's so difficult on the agencies. They're survivors too, and I think we forget that as well.
Yeah, and it's been so special to see all of the different agencies come together in the last year, it's been rough.
It has been rough. Lieutenant Carpenter, you sent us some notes. I'm not shocked by that. In those notes, there is a picture of you and Sherry, 2009. Take me back to that time.
So, 2009 is the year that Sherry was able to go back to Washington, D.C. to experience what survivors are supposed to experience at National Police Week.
Mm-hmm.
Tim Graham's funeral was the very first funeral-related Honor Guard rifle detail performance that I was involved with. I was on scene the night Tim was killed. I helped put Tim into the body bag, and I helped load him into the vehicle to be transported away. And in addition to that, I performed at his funeral. And then 4 years later, I was asked to travel to Washington, D.C. for the specific purpose of escorting Sherry on her trip. And she and I didn't really know each other before that time, but we have remained very close ever since 2009. We got to know each other on the trip. I made myself available to her 24 hours a day for the time we were there. And I just was with her every step of the way during her journey at Police Week that year. And it was just such an amazing privilege for me to be able to do that. And Sherry and I just have remained close ever since. We talk regularly on text message, on phone calls, and we always catch up, usually at the annual memorials. Sometimes it's hard to talk about just because it's very important to me, but I really cherished the relationship with Sherry for all these years, and I hope she knows that we're here for her still.
When you hear that from Lieutenant Carpenter, how are you feeling that it's still very important, very part of his life?
I didn't intend to cry today.
Yeah, that makes two of us.
It's very, very hard to even put into words how impactful having him there with me was that year. And I was so new to law enforcement when Tim was killed. We'd only been married for 5 weeks when he died, and he hadn't been on the department very long. And I had no understanding of the family unit that law enforcement is. And having, I have no doubt in my mind that had I needed Steve at 3:00 in the morning during that week when we were at Police Week, that he would have been at my doorstep in minutes. And knowing that and having somebody there who had such a moment with Tim when he was killed, it's sort of indescribable, because Steve saw him last. I don't know how to say that otherwise. You were one of the last people to see Tim, and I'm grateful for the agency. I'm grateful for everybody who stepped up and who continues to this day. It would be completely understandable if everybody just went about their lives, but every year they check in with me on Tim's end of watch date. He checks in with me frequently throughout the year. On Christmas, they lay a wreath on Tim's grave, and he sends me pictures every year, checks in, makes sure I'm okay. Do you need anything? To be doing that 20 years later is pretty incredible. And so the family aspect of law enforcement, and that they still consider me family, even though I sort of was a traitor and married into a different agency. They still talk to me. But yeah, I'm just so incredibly grateful. That week, I've been to Police Week multiple times, but that was the absolute most memorable and most special to me, and that he was there with me the entire time is incredible. And I'm just so honored to know him and have this relationship, because he's an incredible guy. Law enforcement is such an underappreciated job, and knowing people like Steve and my husband Chris and my late husband Tim, and how dedicated they were to the work that they do, and to know that there's so much denigration against them out there. I just wish people would understand. And in this age of social media where everything is filmed and things can be taken out of context, this job is so hard, but the vast majority of these guys do such a good job, and they are so good at what they do. And they care so much about the communities they're in. These guys are not making millions of dollars doing their jobs, but they care and they do it because it's a calling. For almost every single one of them out there on the ground, it is a calling for them. And I just implore people in the community, I understand when you have contact with a police officer, it's usually not the best day of your life. And so understand that it's not the best day of their lives either. This is what they see day in and day out. And I just would love to see a little bit more understanding within the community of this job and the complexities and how difficult it is, and how underappreciated they are. Just say thanks to them when you see them.
That's a good thing. Lieutenant Carpenter, what is it like for you when you hear from families after a deployment and they're saying thank you for honoring their loved one? Or, and maybe you may not have been there, you sent somebody else from the honor section, to hear a thank you from a family for being there for them. What is that like for you in your section?
Well, I'll tell you, that is probably the single biggest moment for members in the Honor Guard to hear things like that, because just going back to our primary mission, support the families of the fallen. And when we hear from the families of the fallen about a deployment we've done, or a lot of the nice things, Sherry has said today that the Honor Guard community has done for her and her family, it means everything to us. Every time I receive kind words or a compliment from surviving family members, I always quote them, and I pass that along to all of the members of our honor section. And I will tell you, at training sessions, when I review these things and I look into their eyes and I say, this is what this person said about this last performance. And it just makes everybody feel, okay, we hit our mark, we are staying true to our mission, and we're going to keep doing that. It's very reinforcing and encouraging for members of the honor section to hear what it does for surviving family members. It's very, very important. Well, we honestly cherish every comment we get from them every single time.
And it sounds like it's a pretty symbiotic relationship. I mean, they're there for you, you're there for them, and the fallen's memory lives on through both of you.
Yes.
Absolutely.
What is next for Honor Guard, and anything new that you have planned?
Well, I'll tell you, there's nothing new planned. But as far as the honor section goes for the Pima County Sheriff's Department, forward march is our plan. We have a mission statement. We have 4 units in the section. Now our job is to move forward, stay true to the mission statement, and continue to work and practice and stand ready to serve when we get the call. We don't want to get the call, but we know it's coming. And so just forward march with the men and women we have and their continued dedication, and training, and being ready to serve when we get that call. Because from here, we just want to do it better and better and better. I think one more thing I would just like to mention is we've talked a lot today about the progress the honor section has made since 1985. And in part, that's because of all of the men and women who choose to make this part of their careers. But another part of this that nobody sees from behind the scenes is the amount of not only moral support that the honor section receives from this agency, but the financial support as well. It costs money to send people to Phoenix to attend memorials. It costs money to send people to Washington, D.C. for a week, to be at Police Week, to honor the fallen, to be with the surviving family members. And all of that moral support and all of that financial support comes from the administration of the Pima County Sheriff's Department. And that is very important.
I do have one more question. When you get a call for a deployment, how long or how much time do you guys need to be ready? Is it instant? It is hours? Is it a day? What is it like when you get the call?
You know, Kevin, that's a very circumstantial question. Some of the parts of the Honor Guard are less intense than others. Sometimes we're just asked to send 5 people to post colors for a baseball game or a law enforcement related event. Those things are pre-planned weeks in advance, so we have plenty of notice. We have time to practice, get our uniforms ready, and get ready to go before go time. Other parts of the Honor Guard are sudden. Line of duty deaths are never planned. Line of duty deaths are sudden, and there are times where we have to be ready to go in less than a day's notice. So all of that training and preparation ahead of time pays off eventually.
We talked a little bit about the memorial coming up. Just for our viewers, tell us. I know it is closed to the public, but we will be live streaming it, and tell us when it's happening and that sort of thing.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. This year, the Pima County Sheriff's Department's Law Enforcement Memorial Service will be held on Wednesday, May 22nd at 6 p.m. in the evening. It's the first time we've decided to do an evening performance. We're going to give that a shot and see if the people who are attending prefer that. Sometimes morning services are hard for people to attend who work, and kids are in school and things like that. So this year we're going to try it at 6 p.m. We're going to see how an evening service looks, and we'll go from there.
All right. I know honor section is one of your passions. I know about one of your other passions is hiking. See, the smirk, I know. I get a lot of information from people. I hear you're hiking the Arizona Trail.
Yes.
How many miles is the Arizona Trail?
The Arizona Trail is just shy of 800 miles. It's 795 miles. And it really is a national scenic trail that runs right up the middle of our state. The southern terminus is at the Mexican border with Arizona, and the northern terminus is at the border of Utah. And so my wife and I, along with 2 hiking partners, have been working on this since May of 2020. Mm-hmm. We are 540 miles into the adventure, and we have about 260 left to go.
Wow.
Give or take a couple.
Nice.
That is incredible.
Yeah, so it's kind of a bucket list for us. My wife and I enjoy an active lifestyle. We like doing bucket list items and having adventures. And she's assured me, though, this is the last adventure of this type we'll be doing, but she's good to finish. Okay. So I appreciate her sticking by me on that one.
That's a good partner. Good partner right there.
I will say this. I have started the Arizona Trail.
Here we go.
I did 2 miles, so I've got 793 to go.
Man, hey, man. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step.
That's right. I think it's going to be at 793 for a while. I will ask you this, because we always kind of end with food. What is your favorite snack or meal to pack when you're hiking?
Man, food on trail is a sparse resource sometimes. Mm-hmm. And so as far as a snack goes, my favorite snack is going to be a Cliff Bar and peanut butter flavored. And then my favorite dinner is a tie between chicken with rice and beef stroganoff. Mm-hmm. We do the dehydrated meals where we put boiling water into the packets and then eat. But there's a variety of brands out there, but we really like the Mountain House. And My wife's favorite is beef stroganoff, and my favorite is chicken with rice.
Okay.
But there's nothing like a hot meal after hiking 15 miles.
Oh my goodness! I'm just tired just thinking about that. Sherry,
Yeah.
what?
I was going to ask you.
What
do you
about
hike?
you? We heard you're biking, and
Yes.
what do you like to do on the off time?
Yeah, my husband and I have a joke that I do not tent. We have a fifth wheel, so
glamp, if
so
you
I
will.
am okay with that. If I can plug in a blow dryer and take a shower, I'm good. But we do a long ride most years from Miami to DC, which is the 1,400 mile. Yeah,
wow.
we didn't do it this year because my husband's job changed and he just didn't have time to train. And I was so disappointed.
Can see it in your face. I wish you guys could see
I
right
cannot
now.
tell you how many times on that ride I'm riding on the side of the road and I'm looking at the terrain next to me to see where I can throw myself off my bike so I can spend a night in the hospital.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, because you like your arms. What gets tired more, like the legs, the arms? Because you're like down, like crouched down, right?
I think our backs and necks. They're very long days. They're about 100-mile days. So
Oof.
yeah, it's sort of like Groundhog Day.
Oh my
But
goodness.
we get to spend the night in a hotel, unlike you. So I'll still take that over. Yeah.
Do you snack? Do you snack while you bike? Is there a snack that you?
Oh yeah. We do a lot of gels. We have to do a lot of carb and sugar based when you're riding endurance like that. I don't know if I have a favorite one. You get really sick of sugar though.
Oh
You get
really?
really, really sick of sugar because that's kind of all you're eating. So
I
I
can
do
do
a
it.
lot of rice.
Okay.
I'll just take the big microwavable rice things and I'll just put that in my jersey and I do a lot of that. Pickles are great. They taste really good when you're hot. But
A lot of sugar.
A lot
I
of
didn't know you can get tired of sugar. I love sugar.
But you're also out there just hiking the 2 miles, Kevin.
Wait. To my credit, I had my camera with me when I was hiking the trail.
There it is.
I had
Yeah,
extra
okay.
weight.
You had, you did.
Oh, there you go.
You had the tripod and the camera.
Camera there, the old school
And
camera.
wait, I told you I had asked you this question, Kevin. What's your favorite trail?
The one that takes me to the basketball court
No,
or the golf course.
I thought you were gonna say trail mix.
Oh, sorry, trail mix. That's my favorite trail. I forgot.
I've never heard that song.
I had one job.
One job.
One assignment. See what happens when I don't practice? Yeah, see what happens when I don't practice.
no
Trail
honor
mix.
God for you.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, thank you, Lieutenant Carpenter. Thank you, Sherry, for coming on and talking with us. Very important topic that we wanted to get across to our listeners, our viewers.
So insightful for sure. And again, we'll be streaming that memorial service coming up later this month on our social media platforms for the Pima County Sheriff's Department. So thank you both again, and good luck to you the next few miles of the trail and the events, Sherry, that you have coming up as well. Be safe, and thank you so much for all of the work that you've done.
Absolutely.
Yeah, safe travels. Thank
Thank you.
And you're listening to episode 10 of PCSD. What's the word?